All right. Welcome back to the Twisted Takes podcast, where we are all losers. We have made it through the divisional round, and not a single one of our teams. We entered with four. We now have none going into championship weekend. I lost the Bills. Peyton, how do you feel about your Packers quickly?
Um, Honestly, the at right as soon as the game ended, I was obviously sad and disappointed. But in a season where I expected to win five ball games, maybe I can't be anything except like happy with how the season ended and how the season went. So
I mean, you were only expecting three wins outside of the two of against Chicago.
yes.
Wow. Okay.
So the Bears will
Um,
always be free wins for the Packers. So
I can't
Speaking of other free wins for the
win
Packers, specifically in the playoffs, Dante,
every time.
how are you doing?
well, yeah. I've recovered. McCarthy is staying, so I guess I'm not like over the moon about that. But they have talent. We'll see. We'll see. Next year's a new year of disappointment.
And last but not least, Michael Tua Lover.
I liked watching the Bills lose. That was great. But I'll give my takes on that whenever we get to that game.
All right. Yep. As per usual, we are starting with the National Football League, and we'll go in chronological order through the games. So first one up, Ravens 34, Texans 10. I brought up that stat of divisional games being close after blowout wild card weekends, and this one just blew it out of the water.
The Titans just hired their head coach.
Yeah, it's Brian.
Yeah, Brian Callahan from the Bengals, their offensive coordinator.
Unbelievable. It's not Dan Quinn. Get him out of here.
And it's not Joe Barry. Come on, they're missing out. Okay, sorry.
I guess that's a good. I mean, we can talk about it. That's a good move. I mean, poor Burrow. That I mean, they'll find someone new, but
Well, I
Offensive
mean,
don't really
he
matter
made
to the head coaches.
he made Jake Browning look good, so I'm sure I'm sure he's pretty good at his job, but
But firing Mike Vrabel was crazy. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL.
I mean, I think they needed a personality change
Oh,
there.
I
Like
agree.
what they were gonna. It's I think they were in the same spot as the Steelers, but worse. They were gonna be mid with their roster. Like, uh,
yeah.
yes, Mike Vrabel should be a coach somewhere else, hands down. Was the Titans the right spot anymore? Probably not. Especially if Derrick Henry's not there. Um,
Yeah, it feels like they're turning over a new leaf there in Nashville because, you know, with Derrick Henry being gone, I totally agree with that.
I mean, and so Henry's maybe out, right? I mean, he had that whole speech at the end of the game
Isaiah
that kind of
Sanders is now.
that sealed the deal. And then D Hop's done. And did he have a deal there anymore? Is his was it a
I'm not
2 year
sure
with
about his
them?
contract, but if it is up, he likely won't resign.
I
I mean
believe it
that
was a 1 year deal.
He's
I mean
old.
they're starting young. I mean, you have Levis, you have Spears, which I know most of us like Spears. Burks could be better. I just feel like he's gotten banged up a lot.
Mhm.
Um, but all right,
I mean, did
back
they
to it.
give Levis a shot, or
Well, I think
did
I
they
think you
stick
go
with
with
him?
Will Levis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were
I
rolling
agree.
with this until he got hurt.
Yeah. I think he was perfectly fine. He could definitely win you a few AFC South
Good enough.
games.
Good enough.
Oh yeah. Worst
All
case
right.
scenario, he's your tanking QB.
All right, Ravens 34, Texans 10. Like I said, just one of those another one of these blowout games. If you really think about it, this game is 34-3. Obviously without that punt return. One thing I forgot to bring up last week that I had down is I was worried about this run game. I think I know Dante, we had a conversation about, uh, Devin Singletary was actually doing good in the back half of the season. But that game against the Browns, I mean, obviously the Browns defense is amazing, but they had no run game. And I think it was going to be even worse against this Ravens team.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that the Ravens were going to be good against the run. I think they abandoned it. Honestly, the
Mhm.
game wasn't a blowout until the second half. It just seemed like he wasn't getting enough touches, regardless. It always felt worse than it was. So I'm not going to say it wasn't a blowout until the second half because I guess by score it wasn't. But any one of us that were watching that game, we kind of felt it.
Mhm.
I was shocked when they returned a punt for that. Just seems like something the Ravens would not allow to happen. It did. But they rebounded nicely, and yeah, they kicked their ass. Their offense, I think I saw the second half yards were like 250 to 38. It just wasn't close.
Yeah, I mean, we got to pump the brakes on the CJ Stroud being the best rookie quarterback ever talk. He looked great, but I mean, that game he looked like he had never thrown a football in his life. He was just not good whatsoever.
I
I mean,
state my Puka for rookie MVP case. But I really think that the Ravens defense is just the best in the league. It gives
By
me
far. Yeah.
flashbacks to their 2012 Super Bowl, race. And I think that if anyone's going to stop one of the AFC teams, whether it was Bills or Chiefs, I said it before the game even started that it would be the Ravens. So
Yeah. The Ravens are my clear-cut favorite to win the Super Bowl. I mean, I know that's the dry pick that everybody's saying, oh, they're the one seed in the AFC, but it's not because their offense. I mean, their defense is just the best defense I've seen in the last 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. It's just fun to watch how fast those DBs fly across the field, break up passes. Kyle Hamilton hits the hell out of guys when he hits them. I mean, it's just fun to watch.
and I mean the offense doesn't have to be perfect, but they've been perfect. I mean, they have three. I mean, Zay Flowers is really good. Mark Andrews didn't play. He might play. Likely
Likely is
he's out
better.
there.
Likely is better.
Um, just- but then you have Beckham and Bateman who are reliable receivers. It's
Both
Lamar doesn't have
Finagle
to be
had some
perfect.
touchdowns.
Yeah, Lamar doesn't have to be perfect, and yet he's been playing perfect to what he needs to be.
Yeah,
A
he's
little bit
he's
more.
doing yeah, he's doing everything that he's needed to and more, like you said. I mean, I know obviously a passing game. The Ravens don't need a passing game. He had what 158 yards, and people might look at that and try to push a narrative like people have with Lamar in the past. He plays to his scheme, and I mean, how many yards did he run for? Like 100.
100.
Right at
They
Even
100.
had
knew he was going over
yeah
100. Love that.
yeah. You should have taken it. Likely over 36 and a half receiving yards ended up being a bust, but that's just because game script. They just
Mhm.
didn't need him. They just didn't need to use Likely that whole game and cost me $10, but the Ravens don't care because they won by 24. So
I will say our picks last week were atrocious. I mean, atrocious.
Mine
I
weren't
went
that.
2-2. I don't know about you.
Oh, sorry. My
And
picks
I
were
missed the
atrocious.
Bucks and Lions by 1 point.
I was
Like,
way if I picked over unders for all these games, I would have nailed them because I got the first two over unders right, and I probably would have picked the over in the Bills Chiefs. Um, I forget if I would have gotten the Bucks Lions once, but yeah, I'm like I said, I assumed all these games were going to be close for the dogs, and Bucks and Houston just could not keep up.
Yeah,
And my,
my
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 exact
over unders
scores were
actually
close.
did hit. I did go 2-2 now that I'm looking at it, but the two winners that I picked, maybe that's why in my head I was thinking that I did worse than I thought. But yeah, I did go 2-2. So um, I
I
guess I'm
think we all went 2-2.
Well, technically on mine, so like I got the Texans wrong, I got the Bucks wrong, and I got the Bills wrong, but I
Uh,
put the over with the Texans because I really like that over. I mean, it hit by 1 point,
yeah.
but a win's a win.
a win's
Oh
a
yeah.
win.
Yeah, my exact scores were good, 26-21 in the Niners Packers game, and then I thought I had the Lions one in the bag. Buccaneers had to score at the end to ruin that one. I think I said 31-17, but overall, yeah, pretty rough weekend for all of us. Always looking to do better next week, make some money.
Mhm. And I know like I kind of agree that yes, we can't say CJ Stroud is the best rookie, but if I would take him to be in the playoffs next year. Win their division is tough because I think it's very close with the Jags, but I see them if they don't win the division, they could be that 6, 7 seed. Um
Like a
it's
Browns
just
type
tough with
team.
yeah, it's so tough with that AFC North taking up like 2 to 3 spots every year, and then same thing you would expect, not to be biased, but Bills and Dolphins will probably be there. So I mean, like you're looking at Browns or Texans for that 7 seed. So I mean, I take CJ Stroud over Deshaun Watson.
Sure.
Oh, me too. Well, if Watson's even the QB.
Yeah. Joe Flacco now.
I thought they should retire, bro.
Probably.
All right, Niners versus Packers. Peyton, start with you
You know,
first.
we had plenty of chances to win the game. Jordan Love played great in the first half. Second half left a lot to be desired. Obviously, the last throw, he shouldn't have done it. The first thing he said in his post game press conference was, that's a first year mistake. That's something I'm going to learn from. It's kind of hard when you watch Aaron Rodgers make that throw for 4 years that you're like, okay, it's probably not that bad of a throw. But in that scenario, throw it away, give your team a chance to keep working the ball down the field. Anders Carlson, you can fucking lick my ass and get out of here, buddy. You fucking suck. The worst kicker in the National Football League. You're 6'5" for what? You should be playing basketball or you should be a wide receiver or some shit, not an unathletic kicker who the coach has to pray every time you go out there to kick the ball. I mean, that should say something also. I mean, just go to the USFL or whatever they're calling it now, the UFL, and do like the Cowboys did and take a freaking kicker. I mean, it's really not that hard. I feel like there's at least 30 men in the world that can make consistent field goals from the 50-yard, from the 50-yard kick. But other than that, Aaron Jones, priority number one this offseason, get him back. The young guys love him. They love playing for him. And I think he showed the last 5 games of the season. He still has a lot of juice left in the tank, even though he's, 28, 29 years old. I think he can still do it. He's not catching the ball as much, but he looks as explosive as ever running the ball. Defense played pretty good. Purdy did not look great. I know the playing conditions weren't good. Christian McCaffrey carried him as he does every game. I mean, McCaffrey's, in my opinion, the best running back in the NFL. So that's not a diss at Purdy. He would carry Jordan Love. He'd carry every quarterback in the NFL except maybe 2 or 3, in my opinion. But the 49ers or the Packers, I thought whoever won that game was going to go to the Super Bowl. And that opinion still stands. The Lions nor the Buccaneers impressed me a whole lot, but we'll talk about that in just a second.
I'm not a huge fan of LaFleur throwing his kicker under the bus like that. I know obviously he shat the bed. I don't think
He
that's
corrected
to
that
say
quote though.
He said it
I
today in
heard
a
it.
press conference.
Yeah.
He said, that's not exactly what I meant. He said, that's what I say, like, whenever Jordan Love goes out there to throw like a deep pass, he's like, I just pray because I know it's out of my control.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm just so mad that like Tom Rinaldi took it out of context like that and started blasting it in the media. I mean, he was saying what I was thinking. I'm sitting at the bar after the game, after the FGCU game. I'm like, man, dear Lord, just please let him make this one time. Like, I mean, me and LaFleur are the same, but
Yeah. Me and Ryan were watching that game outside of the bar, and yeah, it was an entertaining game overall. I think the Packers gave them a good fight, and like I said about the Niners, they're unlike the Cowboys. They're not just going to roll over for you. So you gotta play a full 60 minutes, and I don't think they did. But at the end of the day, I think they gave them as tough of a fight as anyone else will.
I thought they fought hard. I think focusing on the 49ers side of it, on the offensive side of the ball, I thought they looked stale as hell without Debo. They looked stale without that man running, their rinky-dink offense. It's very similar to the Dolphins, but having a dynamic guy like that, you can see changes the whole nature of their offensive game. But also their secondary, and I was talking to Peyton about this, their secondary looked bad. I mean, they took a lot of penalties, is what I mean. Like the amount of pass interference calls that kind of screwed them on drives that should have been stalled out. And they weren't bad calls by any stretch of the imagination. It was just bad defense. They were getting to the ball too early. I just thought that on the defensive side of the ball, they need to maybe figure that out before they play a team like the Lions, who likes to air the ball out. So, but overall, yeah, I mean, I think the Packers fought hard, but they overachieved. They overachieved, similar to the Bucks, which is the next game we'll be touching. But I think both of those teams can't really be upset with the way their seasons ended, but definitely left a lot to be desired towards the end of their respective games.
I mean, not to be that guy either, but that spot on the 4th and 1 inside the 10, I think we can all agree was absolutely horrendous. I agree with not throwing the challenge flag there because it's really tough when everybody's, going right in the middle. Like you can't overturn that. But I thought the spot was bad. You can see the refs run out and kind of like scoop backwards too. It was kind of bad. We dropped 2 interceptions, one of which would have been another savage pick six like he did against the Cowboys, which obviously hurt. Second half, we had 3 drive chances to put them away. After Aaron Jones ran that rush for like 50 yards, I was like, yep, this game is wraps. We're going to take 5 more minutes off the clock. We're going to get down inside the 20 and, kick a field goal. The drive obviously stalled and he had to kick a 41-yarder. We all know what happened. He obviously missed. But that's also on the offense. You got to take more time off the clock, get down closer, knowing your kicker's not great and in those shitty conditions, you got to do it. But I don't know. Proud of them, I guess.
Yeah, and I agree. Like that, the Niners defense just does not look like they did before. I mean, they're not to discount what Jones did, but their run defense, like they haven't been good the past few weeks. I think that really benefits the Lions coming up. Um, so all right, we'll get to that game now. So Lions 31, Bucks 23. It's weird because like this one seemed close, but then it got out of hand. Um, I think it was just Baker got put under pressure, and I don't think he strives like I think Dante, you said this perfectly. If Baker's cooking, they're cooking. But as soon as like Baker started messing up, it was just a downhill there.
Yeah, it felt like the Lions were gonna pull away early. They got a field goal on the first couple of drives, and I know he threw that interception that wasn't really his fault,
Mhm.
but still felt like he could have made a better decision. Then after the first half, they had like 270 yards of offense,
Mhm.
despite the game being fairly low scoring. I thought the second half the Lions just pulled away. Jahmyr Gibbs was awesome in that second half. He was running all over him. He was kept. He had that one drop. Other than that, he was. I mean, why didn't they do that in the first half? I don't know. They still don't use their running backs properly. St. Brown in the first half, by the way, what was he doing? I another guy who really turned it up in the second half, but that first half, he was dropping balls. It was like CeeDee Lamb in the first. It was the same thing. He just looked shook, and it was just weird. But Josh Reynolds, you're my hero. First half or first touchdown, $10 bonus bet on Hard Rock. Just a little Hail Mary throw. I appreciate him doing that for me. So he's what's the opposite of the banned list? he'll
Um,
be on that for
Meat
me.
riding list. How about that?
Me, all right, he can join LeBron on Peyton's side of that, but
I didn't really get to watch much of the game because I was with family. I watched highlights of it and I saw the first couple drives and then the last couple drives, which didn't really mean much towards the end. But um, just going to leave it at that. The Lions wagon is circling and they're a fun team.
I don't know. I've said all postseason, all 3 podcasts, but I've said it all year long. I'm very unimpressed with both teams in that game, honestly. I mean, some games both of those teams look absolutely dominant. Other teams they look or other games they look absolutely horrible. I think those two teams were 2 of the most inconsistent teams in the NFL this year. The Lions obviously a little more consistent than the Bucks were. But the Lions also got to play the Bears 2 times this year. They got to play the Vikings twice after Kirk Cousins' injury. So they had a lot of cheaper, easy wins. They got to play the Packers in the 5-game slide that they had in the first half of the season. But those teams just don't really impress me. Jared Goff, he's good, but not great, not a Super Bowl caliber, Super Bowl winning quarterback in my opinion. Like Dante said with Amon-Ra, with a lot of drops. Aside from Amon-Ra, they don't really have the receiving weapons. If Laporte is not healthy, I know he's a little banged up. They just signed Zach Ertz going into that, which I mean, can we talk about that too? That's just crazy that you can sign former Pro Bowlers in the freaking playoffs. I mean, imagine last year the Dodgers just signed fucking Josh Hader going into the World Series just because they feel like it. I mean, I feel like that is the most bizarre thing in the world. But yeah,
It's a
the
weird
line
rule.
impressed
Weird
me.
rule.
I think the
Yeah,
Niners
there
win.
should be.
The spread's what, 7?
It's high. It's high. We'll get there.
7. It
We're gonna
is. I think
cover
it
all
is
those games.
7.
Yeah, I'm not okay. Yeah, I'll leave it. But yeah, I'm not impressed with either of those teams.
It is 7.5, actually,
All right.
last time I checked.
All right. And our last one to review, Chiefs 27, Bills 24. The same old Bills. You see it again. It's deja vu. I thought it was different. It's still the Bills. It's still Mahomes. Doesn't matter that it's on the road. I have a bunch of stats and stuff I want to talk about, but I'd more than be happy to let you all discuss, and I'll cap it off.
I mean, can I just say something first? Ryan and Michael, I'm sorry. Every other person that's a fan of a team in the AFC, I'm sorry. Besides maybe the Ravens this year, Patrick Mahomes is going to turn up when it comes time for the playoffs. It doesn't matter. You know, he looked probably the worst he has in his career in the regular season. I'm sure we could all agree on that. But then it comes time for playoffs, and that's just Patrick freaking Mahomes and Travis freaking Kelsey. I mean, he probably had the worst year of his, last 8-9 years. And then he goes 2 touchdowns, almost 100 yards, right? He got like 80 some odd yards. So, I mean, still Travis Kelsey, still Patrick Mahomes. And their defense.
Just when you think
Learn
he's
there
human.
too, because that was the mortal lock was the Bills last week, and absolutely lesson learned. You never bet against playoff Mahomes, right? Because
playoff Brady, baby. You just don't bet against him.
he is 15-1 against playoff teams that are not captained by Tom Brady. He's 0-2 against Brady, but
That's
is
crazy.
15-1 against other. I mean, let alone the fact that was his first road playoff game. I mean, but from
You
the
mean
Bills side
13?
of it,
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
from the Bills, yeah, 13-1. I don't know. The point is he's good in the playoffs, right? But from the Bills side of it, Josh Allen carries that team. But also, is it time to question their ability to beat capable teams? Okay, because he is historically in the playoffs. He's not a bad playoff quarterback, but whenever he plays good teams, he does not do well. I have a stat here. So I think he's 5-5 in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. His 5 wins are against Phillip Rivers when he was 40 years old, Tyler Huntley with the Ravens, Mac Jones as a rookie, Skylar Thompson whenever they played the Dolphins, and Mason Rudolph. Those are his 5 playoff wins. His 5 playoff losses, he lost once to Deshaun Watson, 3 times to Patrick Mahomes, and 1 time to Joe Burrow. So I feel like as a Bills fan, like you kind of need to question, like, is he going to be able to step up in the clutch moments because he really hasn't played phenomenal quarter. Like whenever he's played good teams in the playoffs, he hasn't been able to do it.
I mean, he's like prime Russell Westbrook. He's a stat patter until it matters, and then he just doesn't look great.
He looked great though. He wasn't the reason that they lost the game.
I mean, that nuke to Diggs, whenever you text in the group chat, you're like, oh, Diggs has to catch that. I mean, that thing was underthrown by like 5 yards.
It hit him right in the hands.
Yeah, but he had to
that
stop.
was an overthrow if anything, because he had to go up like this.
But he had to stop. Did you watch it from the other angle? He stopped to try to catch the ball and let the DB catch up to him.
But that's still a good. First of all, I mean, that ball was like thrown 65 yards. Second of all, you're a professional receiver, let alone one of Diggs's caliber. When you get that wide open on a shot that far down the field and the cornerback is sitting on his ass, you better catch the ball if it hits you in the hands.
Are we still saying he's a top caliber receiver after the year he had?
I mean, he's a wide receiver 1 on every team, yes, on pretty much every roster in the league. I mean,
I don't know.
I remember at the beginning of the year, it was Diggs versus Lamb conversations. Now, I mean, who was it? I mean, I don't even know who I'd put really on Diggs tier, but it's not that one. And I still like one of the things I thought stood out to me about the Bills this year was that their secondary weapons finally came to play. I know Gabe Davis was still, Gabe Davis, boomer bust, but
I mean, he had as many stats being on the bench injured than he did in most of his games. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's just the way Gabe Davis is. But Shakir, two tight ends, James Cook out of the backfield. I loved all their secondary weapons. That's why I thought this was different because it wasn't Diggs, Diggs, Diggs. It was Josh Allen and all that talent. He's finally able to spread the ball and rely a little bit on the ground game, and that's what I liked about him so much. And I know James Cook had a good second half, but it felt like it took him a while to get going on the ground. Um, it felt like they couldn't use Diggs past 10 yards,
Well, I mean,
which is
when you
another
say that
problem.
the secondary weapons started to play good, they started to play good like the second half of the season when Diggs was just slowly falling off. I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think either you force feed Diggs or you get the ball to the secondary guys. I mean, being a Packers fan, I watched that for years with Devontae Adams. It didn't matter if he had five guys on him, Rodgers was throwing him the damn rock. And Allen does it a little bit better, but he almost does it too much. Like he was ignoring on that last drive, he ignored Diggs on that 2nd and 9 where he threw the ball like mad deep. Diggs had a free first down. He was literally standing at the marker with nobody within 5 yards of him. So I mean, I
Yeah,
just feel like he was kind of ignoring him.
I agree. I like the way Allen played most of the game. It didn't feel like the turnover worthy plays were an issue. He had one later on in the game, one throw that I thought definitely should have been intercepted. I was actually really surprised wasn't. I liked the way he played. I don't think it was his fault. He got Bass into field goal position. He should have made it. It sucks. It's unfortunate. I feel bad for Bills fans because, like I said, it's always something. And now the wide right's going to come back to haunt them again. It's all they always when they lose. It's always some you could give it a nickname. It feels like every Bills playoff loss you could give it a nickname. But will will they ever beat Mahomes? I don't. Again, when he seems human, he's not human anymore.
With the field goal thing, I think he has to score there. Like, yes, Allen didn't play bad. Yes, that whole drive wasn't his fault, but you have to score a touchdown there. Even if they got a field goal there, I still count that as a Chiefs win. They had 140 on the clock with two timeouts. He probably goes and drives to score a field goal. Even if he doesn't score a field goal, you're going into overtime where lovely Josh Allen is 0-6. It's like we were just you had to score a touchdown there. Diggs could have caught one. Sherfield could have caught one. I thought Josh Allen should have ran to the left on that 3rd and 9, but um, it's yeah the field goal. Yes, Baz sucks. Well, I don't. It's Buffalo. The wind was crazy. He should get used to it, but it's definitely not all on him because I still think we lose that game if he makes it. I also agree with Diggs. I don't want to just get rid of him unless we have another option. Like
He's a
yeah, so but also like just thinking about the way you were talking, like yes, Josh Allen is not as good as Patrick Mahomes, but why not try the Kansas Chiefs experiment where we just don't have really a crazy wide receiver one and maybe get someone like yes, Rasheed Rice is very good, but I think there's people that are draftable that are like him. So yeah, I don't hate the Bills drafting a receiver. I know probably need back end help with like the defense because we're gonna be losing guys. But I hope we don't just say get rid of Diggs and we just don't have a replacement and we rely on either if we keep Gabe Davis or if we lead with Khalil Shakir going into the draft. Like it does not look I'm not confident right now in being a definite playoff spot next year with the way
All right.
our offense is now ended.
wide receiver by committee works. I mean, look at the Packers. They had one 100-yard receiver in the regular season, one game, and it was a guy who was on Seattle's practice squad last year.
Peyton, I'm going to pose a question to you because I posed it to them, but who says no here? Bills and Chargers. Chargers get Stephon Diggs, and they give up their 5th overall pick and Quentin Johnston, but they also get the Bills' 28th overall pick. Who says no? So
Chargers.
basically a first-round pick swap for Stephon Diggs, but they also are giving up Quentin
The
Johnston.
Chargers easily say no to that. The difference in value between the 5th overall pick and the 28th overall pick is enormous.
Okay, so here's my thought on why I think it's a fair trade. the Chargers are in a position to win now if they can stay healthy. If they can get Stephon Diggs and they swap those picks, they still have a first round pick. I mean, I know it's closer to a second, but it's still a first round pick. They can get a first round talent out of it. What do you think that they do with that fifth overall pick now that makes their team better than if they were to get another receiver that's a wide receiver one caliber like Stephon Diggs, and they had Stephon Diggs and Keenan Allen lining up across from each other?
I mean, the Chargers need defensive help, in my opinion, because they still have Mike Williams. I mean, they still have freaking Mike Williams, and also you can't even do that trade because Stephon Diggs is going to be a free agent. I'm pretty sure. So, the trade wouldn't. I mean, I see what you're saying in like a theoretical world. Sure, does it make the Chargers better immediately? Yeah, but you have a young quarterback like Herbert, and he already has two older receivers. I feel like you got to build around him and Quentin Johnston. I mean, Keenan Allen's great, Mike Williams are great, but one of them's going to be hurt every year. I think that you could just accept that. So I think, you get him another young guy, not at 5. I think the receiver talent in this draft, you could get a good one in the 3rd or 4th round to kind of, pair with them. But I mean, I just don't think they're in the position to win now. You don't even know who your head coach is going to be.
Yeah, I agree. The Chargers say no to that. First of all, we're talking about the value of a 30-year-old receiver and one that had an underwhelming performance. The 5th overall pick, the upgrade from 28 to 5, I just don't think it's going to happen. And like I said earlier, in a private conversation, I think the Chargers take the opposite approach. I'm not shocked if they trade Herbert this offseason. And I think if they're going to do that, they could get another top 10 pick at it. There's a team in Atlanta that's looking to get a head coach in Bill Belichick who wants to win right now. They'll overpay for Herbert. I bet they could get this year's 8th overall pick. You could probably get a defensive weapon like A.J. Terrell or Grady Jarrett, and you could probably get another more picks, another haul, maybe another first, another second, whatever. And also on top of that, you get 5th and 8th picks. You could replace Herbert with Jaden Daniels, and I think that they could just kind of restart.
I think the Falcons would give up way too much if they were giving up the 8th pick and AJ Terrell. I mean,
AJ Terrell had a down year, and they would also have Jeff Okudah and Clark Phillips to man the cornerback position.
I mean, he's one of the best corners in the NFL. It's still, I mean, he had a down year. He's still one of the best. I think that's given up a lot. And I feel like they could get like the 8th, maybe in like Grady Jarrett. I feel like that is definitely more accurate. But I feel like if they gave up AJ Terrell in the 8th overall pick, Twitter fans would have their fucking pitchforks out for the Falcons GM, in my opinion.
I just think the value for quarterbacks is crazy. I mean, look at what the Panthers gave up to get the 1st overall pick, or what the Panthers gave. Yeah, what the Panthers gave up to get the Bears.
Crippled their franchise for like the next 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's the price that teams have to pay now if they want to get their franchise QB.
Speaking of that trade, the Texans need to build a damn statue of Lovie Smith outside that stadium. When he won that meaningless game last year, and everybody was like, no, we want the 1st overall pick. He saved them from drafting Bryce Young, and they drafted CJ Stroud. I know I said he wasn't the best rookie quarterback ever. He's still a dude.
Yeah, and the best
that's not a diss.
Class.
He's still great. Obviously the best of his class. I mean, we didn't get to see a full year of Richardson, and he looked good too. But Bryce Young is booty cheeks. I mean, he is ass.
Do we want to move on to other sports, or do we want to actually, let's cover the other 2?
Mm-hmm. Let's do our predictions.
Yeah.
All right. The Chiefs are going to the Ravens first. Last time I checked, it was Baltimore -3, teetering between 3.5.
So right now it's 3.5.
It's 3.5. I hate Mahomes. So with my heart, I will not touch this game, but for my morals, I am taking Baltimore -3. I also really like the over 44.5, and I will take the Lamar rushing line at whatever it is.
I like Baltimore money line. I think it's going to be a close game. But I like the over, whatever they are in both games this weekend, in my opinion.
I think that
Yeah.
we'll talk about it later. The line one is high, which is scary.
Yeah, I would think it was like 51.
Mhm.
I know we just said don't bet against Mahomes, but I don't think we're taking into account that this Ravens team is special. You know what? I can't. I can't. I came into this thinking I was going to take Ravens minus 3.5. I'm taking Chiefs money line. I'm not betting against Mahomes anymore. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. And if you know what, if I'm going to do this segment right, I'm probably not going to touch the game. But if I'm going to do this segment right, I'm going to pretend like someone's holding me hostage and is forcing me to place $50 on this game. If I'm forced to place $50 on this game, am I comfortable betting against Mahomes? Absolutely not. I'm taking Chiefs money line.
It's like you don't feel dumb if you bet for Mahomes and he loses. You feel dumb if you
Yeah.
bet against Mahomes and he just whoops you, which it seems to
I
be
don't
what he
know if
does.
he betting for MVP Lamar Jackson.
He's
I
not
don't
playoff
think I
Mahomes.
don't think there's a bad bet on those lines or on money line on either team, in my opinion. I think they're all decent plays at their value.
Yeah.
I think that I'm on the same boat as Dante here. I like whoever's not favored in this game. I think it's a coin toss. With that said, luckily the Chiefs aren't favored, and I'm not going to go against myself. I don't. I mean, I have to take Chiefs plus 3.5, and honestly, for the value, I like the money line. And the receivers on Kansas City looked competent the past couple weeks. So if that's the case, then I really don't think any team will beat them.
Do you think Kadarius Toney is like asking not to play? Like, is he just like enjoying the ride? It's
Andy Reid had an epiphany, and by epiphany I mean he watched game film.
like
While
every
eating
time, like
McDonald's cheeseburger.
yeah, every time like Kadarius Toney shows up at practice, Reed's like, I also like. I mean, I'm just going full Mahomes hate here out of rage. I also like Mahomes to throw an interception. He's due, especially against this Ravens defense. Um,
Never learned from playoff Mahomes.
I'll milk it till well, I haven't even been milking it. He's been milking me. I will let him milk me till I'm dry. Um,
Same.
All right, all right, then all
Okay.
right. We'll
All
let
right.
Kirk
Lions
milk us.
49ers then.
and you said it's moved to -7,
It's 7.5
7.5.
on Hard Rock.
Give me Lions money line. I like them to make the Super Bowl.
Give me 49ers minus 7.5. I mean, I know they're in the NFC North, but bro, I mean, this is their first time going to the NFC Championship since 1992. I mean, they can't say been there, done that, but you know who has been there and done that? The daggone 49ers. Also, I don't care what the over's at. It could be 108. Give me the over in this game.
All right, I'm with Ryan. I'm going Lions money line, and I'll tell you the 49ers defense has not impressed me. Please, for the love of God, give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. If they give Jahmyr Gibbs 15 to 20 touches in this game, finally, I think that they'll be able to put up enough points to beat them. Their defense hasn't looked good. I know the Lions defense hasn't looked great, but if this game turns into a shootout, which I think it will, I like the Lions to score more points.
I'm gonna go with Lions plus 7.5, and I also like a sprinkle on the money line. Just again for the value of it. I mean, why would you not? If you like 7.5, throw some on the money line. It couldn't hurt you, and
I mean, it could hurt you.
Yeah,
well,
you could lose.
yeah, yeah. Well, if your definition of sprinkle is your mortgage payment or your rent payment, then yeah, sure, it could hurt you. But
Then also
All
just
right.
more side bets for me. I like both. Like I would love them as a parlay. Montgomery and Gibbs anytime touchdown. Like I said, the Niners run defense is just not looking great. So I like them to. I mean, I feel like I've gone with the over for golf passing touchdowns like the past few times. He gets two, but because the other two touchdowns are through the ground. Like I trust these guys to get one each.
You think
Yeah,
they're
I
going to
just
score
don't.
4 touchdowns?
No, I'm not saying they'll score four touchdowns. I'm saying they're going to get two on the ground.
I know, but you
I
said
will.
Goff would also get 2 throwing.
No, I said before. Like I've
Oh,
taken golf over. Like this past week I had golf over 2.5. He gets two, but the other two, or I don't know if there was three on the ground. Like it seems like it keeps happening.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think they'll score 4. I like it 31-28 Lions. Lock it in. This game's going to turn into, there's going to be a lot of points. And I love the way Jared Goff played in the second half. I thought he looked outstanding. I know the Buccaneers defense isn't great, but I mean, God, not that the Eagles were any good, but the Eagles didn't do anything against that defense.
I
Jared
mean,
Goff picked them apart.
say what you want about the Niners defense, but they stepped up when it mattered last week.
Love made an inexperienced throw, and
Yeah,
that's not
on
to
the one
say
interception, but the other interception was not on the Love. I mean, that was just a obviously Tucker Craft has to catch the ball, but the 49ers, I mean, they got pressure on him. It's pretty well documented he's not a great quarterback under pressure yet. He's still super young. And then the second half, they made him start throwing it inside the numbers. He was absolutely feasting on them in the first half, outside the numbers, throwing the ball on the sidelines. They kept him in the middle of the field, and Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner are just two of the best in the game. I don't know. I think you all are discrediting that defense. Their defensive lines all also, obviously pretty good. Lions have a pretty good offensive line. But I don't know. It's hard to bet against the 49ers when the Lions just don't have that experience.
I'm just kind of setting myself up for being disappointed when the Baltimore Ravens beat the Lions and Hard Rock voided just genius bet. I emailed them today and they got back to me with the law. So I don't think I'm fighting that one.
No, I mean, I think there's very clear outlined guidelines that if it's like a misrepresentation on the book, then it's like if it's a book error, then they can cancel any bet.
Yeah.
yeah. Why don't you remind us of what that was?
I think it was either 10 or 20 on it. 10 or 20 at plus 50,000. I placed this was before the playoffs were even done. I thought because I
Before they
was
were even
looking and
set.
yeah, before they were even set. So before that last weekend of games, they were at plus 50,000. Worse odds than the Browns to beat like the Bucks or something, like something weird. So 20 to win 10,000 and they voided that thing right away. I must have been the one to set it off because I bet it and then like an hour later I'm like, oh, they took them all down.
It's the big
Um,
fish guys on Hard Rock right here.
yeah, my big $20.
The shark.
Yeah, he's a whale.
They're probably like, what idiot is already betting on this? And they're like, oh, who's complaining at 9:30 a.m.?
So
You are, Ryan.
are we going to the NBA now? So I got something I want to talk about with the NBA just
I
really
mean,
quick.
yeah, go ahead, start us off, Payne.
Joel Embiid just had 34 points in the first half. I mean,
You're a
Going off
double
right
double.
now.
yeah, he had 34 and 10 at halftime.
Oh,
We're
dang,
not
nice
going to
one.
get a double double though, Ryan. Unfortunately.
What he just
Oh,
had 34 and
Wemby?
10. Oh, Wemby.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't really watch the NBA aside from the Lakers, so I don't know. But
Yeah,
As
Embiid's
far as
just been a man possessed.
as
Go
far
ahead.
as the NBA goes, I don't have too much. Ant-Man was not clutch the other night, missed those free throws. I thought that was crazy to watch. I still think he's amazing, but
what happens when you start comparing dudes to Kobe?
well, I feel like that's something we should be looking at down the line. Like, is he going to be able to clutch up, come playoff time? But I mean, I still love him as a player, and
You
it
still a dog.
was weird to watch. It was just weird to watch him miss those.
Yeah.
I just had a quick thing that I wanted to talk about because we haven't really talked about the Pacers since they got Siakam. They are currently at the 7 seed, and I mean, with Halliburton healthy, with Siakam, I don't see them moving up much more than where they are. Like if they'll even get out of the play-in. Like just to name the teams on top, like it's Celtics, Bucks, Sixers. Cleveland's just a weird team where I think it's still just stuck in my mind that they shouldn't be good, but I think they are. They have Mitchell, they have Garland. And then I know you don't like the Knicks, Michael, but the Knicks are there. And then the Heat. They're currently tied with the Heat in the standings.
I don't necessarily dislike the Knicks. I just think sometimes they're favored by more than what they should be.
Mhm.
Jalen Brunson's either scoring 40 or scoring 5.
Yeah, I just
But then
don't
that's
like
the same thing
betting
with
on it.
Randall.
Yeah, it's the
That like
same
the him and
exact
Yeah.
thing with Randall.
mhm.
Adding Anunoby though, I think makes that team a little deeper with his defensive ability. I mean, Brunson's also a pretty daggone good on ball defender. He's like one of the only guys that I ever see on Hard Rock where his steals line is over half. His steals line is either like 1.5 or even 2.5 some games. So, I mean, they both play good defense, which is important when you're playing, guys like the Cavs when they have Garland and Mitchell, or when you're playing, Anunoby's might be a little smaller than Tatum, but he could guard Tatum. One of them can guard Maxey come playoffs. One of them could guard Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry come playoffs. I mean, I just like those guard matchups defensively with the Knicks.
Yeah, that's what's so important in the playoffs is who can you match up against each team's superstars because a lot I think one of the main problems with the NBA today is that superstars don't care about the regular season if they know they're going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of what you see in the regular season just isn't accurate to what you're going to see in the postseason. Like I look at the Suns. They're the 7th seed. They'd be playing Utah in the play-in and the first. Who on Utah is going to guard Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker in that one game when they throw all their chips in the middle? And if they even end up in the play-in game, they might try to get out of that. I hope they would try to get out of that, but um, that's what I look at when I see the Pacers. I love what they're doing by adding Siakam. They're just not good enough defensively to play against any of those top 3 teams. Who do they have that's going to prevent Embiid from getting 40 and 20 every single game? No one. They don't have anyone in the middle that's going to prevent that. Who do they have that's going to shut down Giannis? I know that they've been awesome against Milwaukee this year. No one's going to shut down Giannis when he's in his bag in the playoffs.
Maybe Anthony Davis.
Boston,
Oh
does he
boy.
play for the Pacers?
No, I'm just saying, but I thought you were meaning like in the league. Because that's
No,
all.
no, 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 no,
When
no.
Giannis is on a mission, you know,
Yeah, when Giannis to me is like I think when a lot of people talk about what Wembanyama is, I think it's kind of what Giannis is.
if Giannis could
Maybe
shoot.
not. Yeah, not as tall, not as tall as him. Giannis isn't 7'5", but we're still talking about a 7-footer that can basically play point guard and
Yeah, but
can
he can't
run.
shoot like Wemby can. Wemby can stroke it, pause, but he can stroke it.
Yeah, I think Giannis has improved his jumper
Oh,
and his
definitely.
3-point shot, but I still don't think. Yeah, it's not, and I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that Wembanyama is as good as
Right,
Giannis. I'm
right.
just saying it strictly in terms of if you put them in a 3-point shooting contest, who are you taking?
You know who's stroking it this year? Legoat. He's shooting almost 40% from three this year, which
You
if
can
you've
talk
ever
about the fuck you three that he hit against
dude, no,
whoever.
dude, he
Go
does
back
it
on.
every game. Let me just whenever he looks down like this and does a little jab step, that hoe's going up.
The
From
LaStroke.
the huh?
The LaStroke.
Yeah, and that's
Oh
on us.
man, it's
The
gonna be
fuck you
crazy
stroke.
when LeBron croaks one day. Like it's gonna be crazy. All like the heart attack memes and all that shit that's gonna be coming
Uh,
out. It's
the
gonna be out of
16
pocket
under.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right. All right. Where are we starting back up from here?
there.
Um, yeah, no, I'll see if I can add the LeBron. Well, now we have to pause this too, so I guess we can start somewhere else.
Okay.
Um,
Um, I don't have any other notes on the NBA. If you guys, I know Ryan, you wanted to talk about the All-Star game.
yes, I have big beef with the All-Star game. I kind of went ham today at work, like just kind of writing down any other idea if I ran the All-Star game. Like I said, I got beef with social media people, and now this is year two of having beef with whoever hosts the All-Star game. Trying to think of even if it was 3 years ago. I thought Vegas wasn't bad, but we had firsthand experience of the atrocity of what was South Beach All-Star game. thinking that the
Not
beach was
South
not.
Beach, by the way, but
Oh,
yeah, South Florida.
was it
Not
not? It
even
wasn't.
close to South
I
Beach.
thought it was in Miami. Is that
I
not
was
called
in
South
Fort
Beach?
Lauderdale.
Oh, okay.
That's like,
Um,
yeah, like a whole hour, bro.
but not thinking the beach would be windy, was a strong choice.
I thought it
But
was a good idea, though. I mean, in theory, it
yeah,
was a good idea if you could get good weather.
um, but then to have no backup plan, like we were like there was people just stranded on the beach that like in that entire weekend. Then
It
Yeah.
was a
there was just
gamble.
nothing to do. Yeah. Um, but my problem with it is like I hate the way that they did it. I like that they're bringing back a draft. I don't know if you saw that. They're bringing back a draft, which
Love
that's
that.
what that's cool and all. I think that's a good idea. They should keep that. It's now I have beef with who they picked as the celebrity captains. The only one that is good in my mind is Justin Bieber because like he designed those. Yeah, I don't think he designed them, but he assisted with the atrocity, which is those all-star jerseys, which is another thing I'll get to. But like some of these people, like I'm not educated in the like I can't even say her name and I lost it. I forgot her
Ryan,
name.
I'm sorry, but I totally disagree. I think I love the PR move. The NHL has terrible
Well,
PR, and by
I
bringing
have better
celebrities,
I have better ideas. I have better ideas. Like
okay.
so like I agree with Justin Bieber, Michael Bublé. We're not trying to attract like 45-year-old women here. Like we're trying to get the youth in the game. Like I don't think he's also I didn't even know he likes hockey. I think I had to look it up to see that he was associated with the Canucks.
He's a big Panthers fan, actually, too. He plays the
Really?
Minnesota
Okay.
one. He is, yeah.
Um, but now think of this. So they have who is it? It's Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes, and with Michael Bublé.
Yeah.
Now think of this, Michael. Sam Reinhart and like Brooks Koepka or Kodak Black. Like that would just be
That would, I mean, that would be good. I cannot lie. That would be good. I don't know if I think the PR would have more problems than
But so my
solutions.
my better thought was because then I started looking up like what are celebrities that are into the game. Jack and Barkley are into the game. I would have loved. So I saw that this is on ABC, so they can't do it. But imagine if it was like Biz and Yandel and Barkley and Shaq, like if they could get them, or even if it's on ESPN, like Pat McAfee does like hockey stuff now. Eli Manning has done hockey stuff before. Like, yes, those are big names, but like they're grasping at straws for these people who aren't really attached to hockey or sports in general. Like Justin
I
Bieber is the
agree, but if your point is to market to like kids and people who aren't like the people who watch hockey are gonna watch it. You know what I mean? Like the people
Mhm.
who like they're gonna watch it. Like people like Tate McRae is like a big TikTok artist. Like that's like her
Yeah,
and
that was the
Justin
name I didn't
Bieber.
know.
Her and Justin Bieber are both like people that are gonna appeal to non-hockey watchers. Of all the four people that are up there, those are the two that are gonna appeal to non-hockey watchers. Like
Mhm.
Michael Bublé, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like
And then I forget the last one. I
it's
really
Yeah,
don't.
I'll
Will
say who's
Arnett.
the other one?
It's
Oh,
Oh
Will
yeah, Will
Arnett.
Arnett, who is also a Maple Leafs fan and is with Connor McDavid, right?
yeah. Well,
I mean, to me, unbelievable that they got BoJack Horseman. Uh, yeah, BoJack Horseman doing it. But you know who I think would have been a great choice? Keanu Reeves. He played college hockey in Canada. He's pretty notoriously like into hockey. Like he's made it well known he's a hockey fan. And I just think everyone knows who Keanu Reeves is. I think that would have been a good one to have instead of Michael Bublé. I think it would have attracted a little bit of a younger audience.
maybe, but my point is yeah, did they pick the best four? Maybe not. But you don't know who wasn't available, and honestly, like again, Justin Bieber and Tate McRae are two like artists that like their demographic is not hockey, so maybe they can help reel in some of those people into the sport. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
just my 2 cents of it. Yeah, I don't think it was the best, but like Shaq and Charles Barkley, the people who know who that is, chances are like are already watching or they're at least thinking about watching it. You know,
It just it's
How
a
much
I mean it's an all-star game, but I want people that like what are they gonna do in this? Like are they just gonna be on the bench? Like that's what it's just not I want
Well, I think
something
they're
that
just
adds.
helping with the picks. I don't know. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
we'll
it's
see.
just
But also, the jerseys are growing on me. The white and the yellow ones are not bad, in my opinion. I don't think they're terrible. They're growing on me in some weird way. The back of them is ugly. The names are
mm.
terrible. Like at the bottom in like the fucking comic font that they found on Microsoft Word. But the
But
bubble
it's horrible.
stars,
It's horrible.
the bubble stars have grown on me in like a weird way. I think the red and the blue look terrible with it, but like the white and the yellow look kind of vintage, and I'm not hating on it.
And then last thing, so we'll get away from hating on the All-Star game. Let's talk about this Oilers crew who is now 4 games away from tying the longest win streak in NHL history. Not going to say I started calling it at 10 games, but I did. Their remaining schedule before I'll repeat it again. They play the Blue Jackets. I think most of these are at home. I think the only one that's on the road is the last two. So home against Blue Jackets, home against Chicago, home against Nashville. The one to tie it is at Vegas, which also sucks is after All-Star break. They
We
Mm,
gotta
they
that might
might
wait.
hurt
Yeah,
lose.
them.
that
Or,
does.
yeah.
And then after that, if they do end up getting the 17, I think they probably can make it 18 and have their own record because then they play at Anaheim. But I mean,
Oh yeah,
what a
it's
run.
it's doable.
Um,
It's so doable. And by the way, I'd like to. I wanted to do this the last time we talked about hockey, but we didn't get around to it. I want to give a shout out to Evan Bouchard. He's not getting nearly enough love for the Norris Trophy. He more than deserves to be in the conversation. He's been awesome, and he's got almost as many points as not quite as many points as Hughes and McCarr. I think he's better defensively than Hughes. I'd put him ahead of Hughes.
and I know
Um,
it's not the Norris is not an only points race. It tends to be, but like it, and I agree. I think Bouchard is a great defenseman. It's just hard when that team is attached to. Like I just think of the quote where it's like, "Are you better off winning like 8-5 or trying to play defense?" It's like when you have and Stuart Skinner is now playing phenomenal. I think I just saw a stat. He's like 17-2 with like 3 shutouts and like 9.917 save percentage. Like he's just been cooking since we talked about this team not being able to win by scoring less than 4 goals.
yeah, and to be fair, he's always been really streaky, Skinner. I even last year, I remember he was. I know the Pacific didn't really have a better choice, but he was the all-star goalie. Like he is a good goaltender when he wants to be. It's just he's like Baker Mayfield. He has to be on. If he's on, he's on. If he's not on, I mean, they might as well cut him or just have an empty net. He's terrible. So I really like them right now. Bouchard numbers might be a little bit inflated by the McDavid Draisaitl dynamic, but I respect what he's doing defensively for a team that's needed it for a very long time. And I think the Oilers have a real shot at breaking this record just because of how streaky they are. I still don't like him in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. All right. And I guess we will finish off with college basketball.
Yeah,
So I had a
Peyton, you can
few.
unmute
Yeah, he's back. He's alive. One cool stat I saw, I don't know if you all saw this. FAU is just they are a sicko team this year. They have a quad one, quad two, quad three, and quad four win, a quad one, quad two, quad three, quad four loss. They've also won on the road, one at home, one in a neutral site. They've also lost on the road, lost at home, and lost at a neutral site.
Can we shout out who the quad four loss is?
They have two,
Dunk
I
City,
think.
baby. No,
Put
no.
the flag in, Dante. Put the flag
Bryant
in.
is actually a quad three loss.
The Bryant one was quad three,
Yes, FGCU is their quad four loss. And you know who kept
which
the
is
book for that game?
yeah. We got Mr. FGCU Hall of Famer, Mr. FGCU Sportsman, FGCU alums.
All four.
That was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day when they
Yep.
beat
Well,
FAU.
nobody's.
And then another thing, I know we talked a lot about how like the Big Ten was just winning always at home. And one team I always bet against at home was Michigan. It is just hilarious, like how bad they are this year, even at home. So Michigan is below 500. They're at like 0.48. It looked like on the graphic at home. The next closest in the Big Ten is Penn State at 0.79. Like
That's crazy.
it,
That's
it is
insane.
unbelievable how they are the only team to really lose at home and honestly consistently. Um, in the
Also,
Big
Will
Ten.
Mississippi Valley State get their first win tonight? They're playing FAMU, two just atrocious schools.
I'm still going to say no.
Ryan and I have money on them to cover the spread, but they're at home against a 2-13 FAMU team.
Oh, all right. Maybe they do. I don't know. I've given up any hope that Mississippi Valley State will ever win a game this year. So
Detroit's
I'm
also
just
winless, by the way, just to add to the Detroit sucks at basketball lore.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it's bad, it's a bad year to be a Detroit Pistons, Detroit Mercy fan.
shout out. I hate this team, but WVU beating Kansas on their home court a couple of days ago. I have a ton of buddies that were there. Super fun environment it looked like. Also, WVU's got to be one of the most odd basketball stories this year. I know Ryan was talking about FAU being sicko, but WVU had the number 2 rated transfer class coming into the season. Their coach gets arrested for the second time in his life on another DUI. He woke up, he was arrested in Pittsburgh and said, "Oh, I thought I was in Cincinnati." So that's pretty bad. He was found with a trash bag full of beer cans in his passenger seat and an open case of beer in his back seat. And he also had popped a tire and driven on it so long that it was down to just the wheel. So that was impressive. They obviously lost some of their best contributors. They had a lot of injuries, and now have added 2 defensive backs from their football team and are playing them off the bench.
That's weird. Yeah, that's
Some wacky
crazy.
things going
I
on.
didn't realize that about the football players. I do know they sucked at the start of the year because their starting point guard was suspended for
Or
9 games, and they had
yeah.
Kirk Risa, who screwed Arizona
And
last year.
Raekwon Battle was out because of his waiver. And Noah
Yeah,
Farkanen, or however you pronounce it, he was out
yeah.
for.
I mean, that was a lot. That was a lot that they were without. Now they have those guys back. So welcome back, West
Jesse
Virginia.
Edwards still isn't healthy. Jesse Edwards still isn't back. That's a big one.
There is only one team currently in college basketball that has 1 win or less. Do you guys know who it is? Well, they have 1 loss. Sorry, 1 loss, not win. Apologize. Loss.
James Madison.
Nope.
No, James Madison
Who
has
went? Wait, what was their second loss?
App State, and then I believe Louisiana.
Okay, I didn't know they lost. I knew they lost to App State.
Do either of you two know
Uh,
who it is?
I don't think I will.
With only 1 loss. Um,
I'll just tell you guys because I really like
is
it.
it Grand Canyon?
It is a team that did well last year, Princeton.
Oh,
Oh, they still only have one.
after
Okay,
FGC steals their center.
Yep.
bench
He had a
center.
great
But
year
yeah,
last year, but I'm curious to see if they can maybe try and make another run this year. We'll see.
I mean, I think they win the Ivy pretty easily.
oh yeah.
don't count out Cornell. Cornell's a good team. They could
I'm
score a
counting out
lot of
Cornell.
points.
I'm counting out Cornell.
They have a great Chris Kane. He doesn't play that much on the team though. Shout out Chris Kane.
You went to school with
Yeah,
him,
he was my
right?
high school friend.
Do you guys have anything
Another.
for your band list? Because I have
Well,
one.
I just wanted to
College
make one
basketball.
more. Oh yeah. I just wanted to make one more college hoops note. Again, I'm not a legal expert, so I stay out of the legality of these things. But Terrence Shannon Jr. is back for Illinois, and I think, regardless of what you think of the situation, that's a huge get back for Illinois. And when I made those final 4 picks on our first podcast, I was under the assumption he likely would not return. So I do think Illinois with Shannon is a Final Four team. I think they could win it all with him. So that's to me, that's the biggest story in college hoops right now.
Giving him a standing ovation when he's coming back from being acquitted on rape. I mean, I feel like that's a little.
It was a lot. That was much. I'm speaking strictly on a basketball
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Not I don't. Again, I'm
I
not a
mean, he
legal
hadn't
expert.
lost
I
a
don't
step.
know.
He hadn't lost a step, that's for sure. He looked
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Michael, what were you saying? Sorry.
No. I mean, it's college hoops related, but band list Houston men's basketball. What are we doing?
good. I want to say one thing about the ban list. After last week, I almost took Stetson money line at FGCU, and FGCU ends up beating them by 26. So it's a good thing I didn't, or else I would have been wearing red lipstick on this podcast today. So it's a good thing I didn't, but I really, really wanted to because it was way too good to be true.
I want to see those betting receipts.
My
Yeah,
band one, I didn't really have anyone that cooked me. I'm just gonna go like it's really for me personal because I said at the start of this playoffs that I was going to bet against the Bills just so that I'd either be happy or happy with more money. So I'm just doing my teams in the playoffs. I can't. I have to stop. I'm gonna probably do it when I see the Timberwolves in the NBA. I already hope the Wild make the playoffs, and I'll believe that they can beat the Canucks in 7 for some reason. But so I'm putting it down now, and I know I'm probably gonna go against myself, so I'd rather wear red lipstick,
So
or have my team win.
I know this is
Yeah.
off topic, but Ryan, talking about the Timberwolves, we mentioned Embiid having 34 at half. Karl Anthony Towns right now has 41 points in the second quarter.
What? God.
My
He has 41 points in the
Dude,
second.
what is the score in that game?
68
It
to
was only
62.
68-62? What?
This is crazy because Embiid was at 59 after the third. What's going
43.
on?
He's
Yeah,
eight
he's
for
got
nine.
43. He's 8 for 9 from 3.
Jesus.
Just insane.
He's stroking it.
And
He's stroking
and
it.
Ant has 0. Ant has 0 points. That
He's
is
got one
crazy.
shot.
Yeah, Cat's taking all of the shots. On the topic of the band list, I'm gonna go back to what Michael said. I had a great week this week, so I don't have a lot to be salty about. I had 2 big wins. I bet Bradley when they were down big against Southern Illinois to come back, and they did. Just the pace of that game, it just felt like it would happen. And then obviously the Josh Reynolds first touchdown. Houston is the one that I don't know what happened there. What are we doing fouling from 3 when you're up 25? Why are you trying so hard? And taking a technical foul in the backcourt, you gave 4 free throws. What are we doing here? Why are we gift wrapping points when we have the under? I know they don't give a crap about my under, but regardless, what's the end goal with that? So I can say this with certainty. I never liked betting on Houston in the first place. Their games are weird. So I'm confident I'm never going to have to wear red lipstick on behalf of Houston basketball. I will never bet on them again. They are that was insane.
So Ryan, before we go, Ryan mentioned when it was just me and him on Zoom first that the ban list that Ryan wants to do it to where it's not just your banned item. So like
Mhm.
if I were to bet on Marquette and lose since it's on Dante's ban list, I would have to put on the red lipstick.
Mm-hmm.
All
Fair.
right, I'm gonna have to study that list then because I did not have that in mind.
You don't have to worry
Yes.
about Luis Santos, I'm sure. So
No, I can promise I'll never bet on Gui Santos. I'm not forgetting that one because that's just the most obscure one on the list.
But then if it hits, are we taking it off for everyone?
Yes.
Yes. That's the whole
and then
point.
it can
Like
be
that's
put
the
back.
risk. Yeah, that's
But
the risk.
Okay, well then we
Um,
definitely can't have a banned team every week. That's gonna get too crazy.
Well, they'll eventually get off.
Well, or maybe
Well,
not. Maybe
it'll
just don't
help
make
our
stupid
gambling
bets.
problems.
and then we'll all have red lipstick on at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing
We
before we
want-
go, I do have a mortal lock. Warriors
Mhm.
money line against the Hawks, obvious reason.
Ooh.
All right, give me a mortal lock for tonight. Clippers money line.
Well,
LeBron's out.
Michael, Warriors are on the banned list. Do you know that? Are you prepared to take that?
Oh,
Well, okay, so it has to be a line that's like close to even. So if they're
I mean, are
either
they favored? I mean, even if you're taking them favored and you're taking money line, then if they're a dog, then no. I will say you can take them as a dog. But if they are favored and you're taking money line, and that counts.
well, I'll take that into consideration. They're still my mortal lock for the week. I don't know if I'll be taking them, but I'll be considering it for sure.
So I have 2. I already mentioned my one. I'm preparing for disappointment. So I have my one of my mortal locks as Ravens over the Lions in the Super Bowl. Because I know I'm just bound for disappointment. And not really a mortal lock. Me and Michael already took it as our sweat free for golf this weekend. Max Homa to win the Farmers back-to-back Farmer champion, Max Homa.
Yeah, we know you love Max Homa. That's your favorite golfer. My mortal lock is a 3-leg parlay: Oilers over Blue Jackets, Oilers over Blackhawks on Thursday, and then Oilers over, let me see who they're playing on Saturday. Oilers over Predators on Saturday. I like them to keep the winning streak going and keep rolling into the All-Star break.
Yep. So guys, come back next week to see the Oilers on the ban list.
I mean, I really see them like that All-Star break's gonna hurt them.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, that's another good podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We are no longer biased towards our football picks. We are all down bad. So we will see you next week with another episode previewing the
Absolutely.
Super Bowl.
Let's keep it
Yes,
twisted,
sir.
baby.